Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome. This is Black History Boot Camp. It is a 21-day walking meditation series. It is powered by the Million Black Women of Girl Trek, a movement that is walking in the footsteps of a powerful legacy of change makers. We believe that our walking will transform our neighborhoods, and we are on the line every November at noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, walking and talking about history and the lessons that we have to learn from it. My name is Vanessa. I am part of the hosting team for this conversation. I'm walking right now today in Washington, D.C., sitting here in the sun, and I'm joined on the line by my partner in crime, Morgan Dixon. Are you there, Morgan?
I'm here. I am here. The sun is shining. And Tyree done faded that song on my favorite part when she goes, it hurts like brand new shoes. I was like, yes, today hurts like brand new shoes. It hurts like brand new shoes, y'all.
Yes. Y'all, we are on the less than 24 hours. We're like 10 hours out from the presidential election in the United States being called for Donald Trump. And this conversation today we started with Sade, the beautiful, Morgan, you have a little bit of background noise or wind on your end.
I got a gang of background wind.
Okay.
Let me mute that for you. Let me mute that. I'm walking on this dirt road. It reminds me of Oklahoma where I grew up. It's red dirt. And I don't know if it rained or what, but it's super moist. But the wind it's a wind tunnel right here. It's kicking up. Let me put it on mute so you can talk about this stuff. Hold on.
All right. Let that be an invitation that you can also lace up your sneakers wherever you are right now, and you can join us. We really walk during these conversations. We walk because moving our bodies is healing. We walk because we don't want to embody rage or grief. We walk because the spirit moves through our best breath and it connects us to something powerful. And so I know a lot of women are coming to today's conversation holding a lot. And I just want to invite you that if you can move during this conversation, to please move. We started today's conversation with Helen Folosade Adu, known as Sade. And we started there because her voice to me, Morgan, I thought about those exact same lyrics too. And I thought, like, it feels like brand new shoes. I swear, and Morgan didn't know I was going to play that song. And I played that song because today we're going to talk about, what do you need right now? What do we need as a movement? Do you need sisterhood, which is maybe why you came to this call today? Do you need solitude, which is a practice that I don't think a lot of us feel as comfortable with, but something that Sade leaned into deeply? So we're going to talk about that today, but mainly, Morgan, I just was grateful that we were going to be on the line today so that we can hold space for the women. And I just want to check in with you and see how you're doing and how you're feeling.
I'm feeling like I needed to get outside and touch the earth. I needed to remember that the blue sky was blue and that the earth was rich. I needed to remember that I am alive and I am not paralyzed. Our friend Janine, many of you know Janine, she does rhythm therapy with Girl Trek. She's fascinating and beautiful and smart. And she called me just a couple of minutes ago and she was like, she asked the same question, how you doing? And I said, I'm awake. She said, what do you mean? And what I mean by that is this will provide the kind of contrast that we need in order to imagine the realities and the values and the dreams that we want for ourselves and our daughters. And I believe in contrast, and I believe that it sharpens our vision. And so I feel fully awake, fully prepared. It is not a coincidence that Girl Trek went underground in the summertime. It is not a coincidence that we staffed up, hired up. It is not a coincidence that we went across the American South where women especially will be disproportionately impacted by some of the policies that the elected president has spoken about. And so I think it is not a coincidence that we are talking about blueprints for freedom fighting, and we were talking about powerful people even yesterday, like Paul Robeson, who had to speak truth to power. It is not a coincidence. So I feel awake and I feel prepared. I feel sober, very sober. Yeah, and then I am proud of Black women. I am proud of what we do always. I am proud that 92% of us showed up and voted for issues that are going to allow us to live and not die. But I am also reminded, Vanessa Shea from New Jersey sent me a text message this morning, and it was a screen grab from something. A girl check an email or something, I don't know. It was just a screen grab, it was kind of blurry. And it just said, reminder, never ask permission to save your own lives. Girl check. It's like, I don't know when we said it, but it could not be more appropriate. And the fact that he sent it to me on this morning was just a reminder of who we are, whose we are, what we stand for, how we stand united, and that we are uniquely and divinely prepared for the road ahead. So I feel awake. How about you? How are you feeling?
Thank you for sharing that. I love Shay so much. I love the Black men in our lives who are just like watching and rooting us on in ways that we can't even explain or sometimes feel. And I just appreciate him. And I don't even think I've ever met Shay, but he always be sending me inspirational stuff too, and I'd be happy. I'm just grateful. I feel, Morgan, wow, it's funny. I was like, God, are we prepared for this conversation today? And I was like, yes, because we are divinely prepared in all the ways that you actually just eloquently explained. We've been getting prepared for years for this. And I feel like I don't know in this moment what we need or what to do, but I know in this moment we don't need to try to do more on this day right now. I know we don't have to try to do more, Black women. I know that the habit is to figure out how we immediately get into work mode, but I was just like, I'm not here to ask Black women to show up in any other way than the ways that we just showed up. I'm also not, I've been really careful about social media and the news, and yet it's been coming through this loud and clear message that we all need to right now come together across the aisles, across the things. And I was like, I'm not telling anybody to come together with people who hate your guts and want to see you not live. I'm not here for that message. Like, I'm just here for the healing. I feel like we are on track. I feel like we can't be deterred right now. I feel like we have real solutions. Star 9, y'all, to come in fact, because the solution is us walking and talking together. Like, I don't know if you need sisterhood or solitude, if you need to tap out like Sade has done for almost the last 14 years. We'll talk about it in a second, but like, I just want to learn from you because I feel like we are on the right path. We are doing beautiful work for our generational healing for ourselves, and I don't want to be distracted by what has happened. And also, I want to think innovatively and creatively and from the ground up around what this moment is asking us to do. But I was just like, first I got to pause. First I got to rest. First I got to honor. First I got to talk. First, I personally am going to need a little bit of solitude, and then I'm going to figure out how I can get back in community.
It's interesting. Thank you for sharing that, V. And please take as much solitude as you need. I think we all have to. Something else Janine said to me is she said, Morgan, I'm ready. And I said, what do you mean? And she says, I've been resting. I've been like taking care of myself. I've been traveling. And she goes, I'm ready. Whenever we're ready, I'm ready. Put me in. And I have this, I'm getting chills. I have this, we have been preparing. We have been preparing our bodies and our minds, getting in the best shape of our lives, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And my God, it has not been easy. V, I have watched you as my friend grapple. You have watched me as your friend grapple. We have watched Janine as our friend grapple. We've watched every single member of our staff grapple with what does it mean to be alive, to be Black, to be woman, and to be healed, and claim that said healing over yourself in your day-to-day life. And what I am telling you is we don't have to do anything but lifestyle activism, which is joy is the revolution. Joy is the justice. Like there is nothing more conspiratory than a million Black women practicing joy when we were supposed to be belabored and we were supposed to be downtrodden. Right? So I say that, yes, we also have to be keener about our organizing, although we organized quite well. As Paul Robeson said, on any given Sunday, Black people, and particularly Black women, know how to organize. We organized quite well, so I want to celebrate us, and we should continue to do that. We should continue to do that, but we have to take care of ourselves for the days ahead. It's so funny, when I woke up this morning, you know what I wanted to do? Go to the gym. You know, I hate the gym. I hate the gym. I was just like, I got to go to the gym, get myself, snatched and everything. I got to get ready, you know what I mean? Because, and that's not out of fear. That's out of opportunity to show up in the ways that I need to. And then the last thing I will say, Vanessa, is you said something yesterday, which I thought, oh, I heard something on my phone. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. That might be on my end, yeah.
Oh, you said something yesterday that I thought was brave. We were talking about if we should be more responsible in this moment, if we should be more radical in this moment. And you said that you have been living your life, and I quote, in default. And I was talking to an ally this morning, and I felt like people voted in default. I felt like, of course, 92% voted for the Black woman who was running. Not even half of white women voted Democratic, and it all felt like default. And what we know now for sure, is that we actually have to be radical, and we have to be responsible, and we can no longer live in that space on the sidelines, that we have to get in the game. We don't actually have the opportunity to be anymore. And I always thought about the women in our history. So when I was getting dressed, I picked up my bag, and we have these foremother badges, and Rosa Parks' badge fell out on the floor. And I was like, hey, Miss Parks, you want to go on a walk? So I just put it on. And I was just thinking, she didn't want to be radical. She just didn't have a choice. And unfortunately, with the level of suffering in the world that people are actually experiencing, which was not really talked about during this election, the level of suffering that comes from poverty, that comes from deep loneliness and broken communities and broken economies and broken political systems and incarceration and all of the things we talked about in our 10 weeks, domestic violence, these kind of silent and violent kind of conditions that are causing suffering. We now have to not only address them, but we have to do it in mass. So I don't know. I'm not feeling hopeful, and I'm not even energized by it. I didn't get out of bed until 3 o'clock because it's 5 o'clock here. I'm in Ghana. I don't feel energized by this. I feel sad and overwhelmed by it. And I also feel clear. Like, okay, here we go. So that's how I feel. So
there
I'm out walking.
So beautiful.
Yeah. I want to hear about Sade. I don't know nothing about Sade except for she wore that denim shirt, that red lipstick, and that swooped up hair. And Haley on our team always be trying to look like Sade. And I'm like, why you got this Sade outfit on? Oh, I don't know anything else about her. I think she's Nigerian. That's the only thing I think I know.
You know what? It's a good place to start because everybody feels exactly like you do. And in fact, if you Google Sade, most all of the articles start with either she is a recluse or she's an enigma, but her entire profile has been built around this fact that people don't feel like they have accessibility to her, like they don't really know that much about her. And yet she sold over 50 million records. She's one of the most successful female artists of all time. And she has built a powerful community of people across the world who go to her music during particular times when they are looking. It's funny because somebody was talking about her love. I was reading an article about her Lovers Rock album, and they were like, is it sorrow? Is it grief? Or is it realness? They were just like, but there is something about this particular music. And I love her story for today, because just like you said, you felt like getting up and going to the gym this morning. Somebody asked Sade, I'll tell you a little bit about where she was born and everything in a minute. She is half Nigerian, but somebody asked her about the long hiatuses she takes. She's getting ready to release a new song right now, which will be her first in almost 14 years, which is an ode to her daughter, who's transitioned actually into a young man. And somebody was asking her about the breaks that she takes. And she said, well, being a musician isn't a day job. And she said, I'm not taking breaks, I'm living my life so that I can actually be present and in the moment, so that I could source the inspiration and joy that I bring to my music, and so that I can be real. And she said, if you don't really feel it and you're just going through the motions, the results aren't going to be satisfactory. They'll be less than your expectations of yourself. And I felt that, because this Girl Trek is not a day job for me. And I know it's not a day job for you. And I'd be like, it ain't a day job for us either. We'd be working all day, y'all. It ain't a day job. It is such an identity to show up and believe that we can change the world. And yet it requires us, like in this moment right now, to navigate how are we even going to care for ourselves to show up on this call to care for other people. I was like, I'm sitting here on my porch with the sun. I was just like, God, like just change this grief and sadness that I have so that I could have something else for the women here on this call. But then I didn't feel like I needed to do that, because I was like, but that's what this community is about. And I don't have to have the answers, and you don't have to have the answers. We just need to hold space. So I will say that. And then I'll start here with just a little bit of facts about Sade, because I really want to open the lines. I know women want to talk, but these things were fascinating to me. First of all, I didn't know her name wasn't Sade. Her name is Helen Folosade Adu. She was born, she turned 63 this last year in January, Morgan. She's a Capricorn. Shout out to all the Capricorns. She was born in Ibadan State, which is a province in Nigeria. She was born
the whole story right there, Vanessa. I had to come off you. You could stop the whole story right there. Why you didn't leave with that? Why y'all didn't leave with this? She was a Capricorn. We don't need to know that else.
She was a Capricorn.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. I've been building a list. Yes, thank you for that.
Exactly. Everybody better build a list. And we got to build a list of our good and our bad, y'all, because I got a lot of shadow Virgos where I'd be like, ooh, that's how I'm showing up. Okay, I see myself. Her father was Nigerian, Morgan. He was an economics professor at the University of Lagos. He met and married her mother, a British woman. And they separated when Sade and her brother were very, very young. And her mother moved her and her brother back to England, which is where they were raised. Sade said it was a really traumatic experience for her. She originally planned to become a fashion designer. She studied fashion at London St. Martin's School of the Arts. She even dabbled in modeling. And after getting her degree, she had a group of friends who were forming a band, and they asked her, would she start singing with the band? She did start singing with the band, and the band was called Pride, and they toured around the world, and they got a lot of popularity. And even as they started to get popularity, the music industry started to hone in on Sade's beauty, and they started to encourage her to break from the band. And this even goes to this conversation around, like, when do we go alone and when do we go as a group? And I didn't know this part, but Sade eventually left Pride and she started her own band. But did you know that Sade is the name of the band? It's not her name as the singer.
Sade, know that. I did know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You know who told me that?
So
Shay told me that.
Oh, right. So there you go. Yes, exactly. So Sade is actually a band. It's composed of bassist Paul Denman, keyboardist Andrew Hill, and Stuart Matthewman. And they have held Sade down for decades. They master all of the music. They create their own sounds. They give her the space to create, and then they come back together. They actually just recently, they go for months at a time when they do albums together, and they hole up essentially. They've been holed up in this French chateau that actually Brad Pitt and George Clooney own, which is a random thing, or Brad Pitt and Angelina. Somebody owns it. And they started opening up for space for artists. And so they were able to go there, and that's where they started to curate their craft. So Sade is an actual
wow.
Band. They have released only
But is it like an alliteration of her name? But isn't it like a part of her name too?
Yes, exactly.
Doesn't her Nigerian name have Sade in it?
Fola Sade, Folasade. So it came from her middle name of Fola Sade. And then, of course, she does respond to Sade. But the fact that we think she's a solo artist, when in fact she's always up there with her actual band, who's doing a lot of the songwriting, a lot of the musical arrangement, a lot of the holding space for her to even show up as she is, she says it's actually a shame that we don't understand that. And she actually credits the music industry's obsession with beauty, and her beauty in particular, as diminishing the other members of the band. And it's part of the reason that she stays out of the spotlight so much. She said her life, she didn't want her life to be reduced to just her beauty. She didn't want her music to be just reduced to her beauty, and that the music industry was so hell-bent on doing that. And so always from the beginning, she had this really powerful stance around who she was and how she was going to create. And in fact, she's negotiated what is considered to be early on in the 80s, negotiated what is considered to be one of the best album deals ever, where she took only a small advance of the money up front in agreement for 20% of all her profit forever going into perpetuity. And that deal has set her up where she doesn't even need to make more albums than she actually makes. And it gives her the actual space to do what she needs to do. So she,
you know what that is called? That's called a Capricorn move. That's called a Capricorn.
That's called a Capricorn move.
That's nice. Vanessa, Sade's forehead gave me so much confidence as a little girl, because I got this 5 head too. And I used to be so ashamed. I used to always want some bangs. And then when Sade came out with that swoop back ponytail with that forehead gleaming, I was like, y'all ain't about to tell me nothing about my forehead. Y'all ain't about to tell me nothing about my forehead. In fact, my hair is pulled back now. I never in my life would have pulled my hair back in, say, the 6th grade. I was so ashamed I had perpetual sponge roller bangs, because I was just like, please cover up this forehead, God. Why do I have to have it? And then Sade came out so strong. So while I do understand not wanting to be reduced by beauty, I also don't think she looks like everybody else. And I think that she represented a different kind of beauty in many ways. And even in her styling, I thought she represented some diversity, and I really appreciated that about her.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Her biggest album was 1992's Love Deluxe, Morgan, and literally at the height of her career, at the height of Love Deluxe, she took an 8-year hiatus. This matters now to this conversation, y'all, because some of us are scared to take the next 8 hours. Some of us are afraid right now that if we are not in the spotlight, if we are not front and center, if we are not there, some of us feel like we don't even have 8 hours. And I was like, this woman said, I'm going to take an 8-year actual hiatus. Now, when I did some digging, this is what I found. Part of the reason she took the 8-year hiatus is that she was married, and she had married this Italian man, and they were in a very tumultuous relationship, Morgan. And she said she ended up having she didn't give a lot of details, but these are the details she gave, but I think the writing is on the wall. She said, I had to flee at the last minute with one bag in the middle of the night. And she left a relationship of over 5 years. And she said it took her over 5 years just to get over it. And she said a lot of people thought that was too long, but she was just like, I had to hold and process the grief. She said, I had to hold and process the love, and I had to come back home to myself. So it took her that long to do it. She then, after
and this is what she's talking about. There's no way that you, pardon my interruption. This is what she's talking about. There is no way that you make the kind of love songs, that Sade has made, where, I don't know nothing about Sade, and I have a giant Sade sticker on the back of my computer, because there's something about her spirit that resonates with me. And that's what she's talking about. She don't make no music that don't come with no spirit. You know what I mean? And the only way you create that is that you align and vibrate with what's real in life. And so she was just loving that man. It's the thing I wish we had talked about in the domestic violence conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, which was so profound. So profound. Thank you for everyone who made that happen. Is what do you do with the love? You know what I mean? And how do you process and grieve from that? And grief is so important for us to talk about today, because so much of what every one of us is feeling on the phone is grief for what we were dreaming and what we were hoping would happen. And there's some real grief that it isn't happening. So I'm loving this story. Right. What else did you learn? Mm-hmm.
Well, after she got out of that relationship, and after she took a break, her next album was Lovers Rock. And I don't know if you guys know that album, but it was an ode to Jamaica. It was an ode to like the island sounds that had traveled from Jamaica to Britain, right? And she recorded the album in Jamaica over the course of several years with a new partner who she was living with down in Jamaica. And that's where she actually had her daughter who transitioned. And during that time, Morgan, there's a lot of quote unquote rumors about the fact that she was addicted to drugs actually during this time, or that she was struggling with substance abuse. And she was very notoriously actually pulled over in Jamaica, and she was arrested, or she was detained for reckless driving, and then they took her to court, and then they issued her a warrant. She was like, I can't come for this warrant. And then she ended up not showing, they took away her passport. She got in a whole big thing, and then she's never been back to Jamaica since then, actually. And mostly what she said about that incident in reflection, and mostly what I realized even trying to Google and find information about her, is that thank God somebody held her down and protected, because I really couldn't find hardly any more information about it. And I was like, somebody, people around, oh, that's what it's called. It was like rumored during this time because she got pulled over.
You was trying to Google. You was trying to Google. You was like Sade, Jamaica. They was like bumper clot.
And this brings me to
puppies. Sorry, there's some puppies here.
Oh,
I got scared, so I keep going.
No, this brings me to today's.
Following.
Oh my God. This brings me to today's entertainment landscape, Morgan, and even brings me to today's election, because we don't have any stars right now. A lot of the music journalists today were writing about Sade getting ready to release this new song, and they were like, how do we give her so much grace? That's essentially what they were saying. They were like, we let her go for years. She don't even share nothing on social media. We don't even know nothing about her family. We don't even, and I was like, and that's a beautiful thing. And another journalist was writing about this, and they were like, we don't give that space to our artists now. We wouldn't abide Beyonce having an 8-year hiatus and not having told us about Blue Ivy. We wouldn't let Rihanna just move in silence and go through postpartum or do whatever that she's doing without expecting her to show up. And even in this kind of fast-paced kind of election kind of storytelling of how social media is and how the world is, the expectations even that Kamala Harris last night would be there at the Howard campus, people were waiting 1 and 2, and eventually her campaign chairman came out and he said she's not going to come out tonight, she's with her family. And I was like, thank God she's with her family, because the she hasn't, as of before we got in here, she hasn't come out yet. And I was praying for her. I was like, the sadness she must have, the disappointment she must have, and the expectation that now you need to pull it all together to call this man and congratulate him on his win. They said Joe Biden was getting ready to congratulate him. And then also you have to show up and you have to hold your emotions in. And we have such unrealistic expectations. So that's the whole Sade story, y'all, is that Sade herself has chosen solitude when she needed to, and that she has offered a beautiful repertoire and catalog of music, which has built up a global sisterhood when she could. And that in between then, she has tapped into the presence of her real life. She even said in that 8-year break, she was like, well, my family member was sick. I had to be a caregiver. She was like, my mom needed me. Like all of these things that we don't think of, even and especially, by the way, when we see a beautiful woman, we somehow feel like they maybe must not have the same burdens, must be able to jump out of bed with an easier pep in their step than maybe some of the others of us. But she was like, this is not me. This is my real life. And so I am honoring Sade today for the 50 million records that she showed and sold, in the way that she was able to do that without having to give every part of her life away. And I am honoring right now that some of us right now are going to need to choose solitude in order even to tap back into because I was like, what is next, Morgan? What's next? And I was just like, it's going to require such inspiration. It's going to require such personal conviction. It's going to require you to be able to source a faith and a belief from somewhere other than the reality of our circumstances right now. And I think that sometimes it's going to require sisterhood. I was so grateful that we were going to have this call, and we're going to need to know, when do we lean out and when do we tap out and take care of ourselves?
It's interesting, in the spirit of sisterhood, shout out to our C-suite, on the leaders of Girl Trek, the national leaders. We were texting this morning, and I was sharing that, like, I have a deep sense of hope, but I think some of it, and I feel energized about the work, and I do have a clear vision of what comes next. Part of that is because I've been practicing solitude. Part of that is because 2 months ago, I came back to Ghana out of South Carolina because I knew I couldn't be there for that. And that is a great privilege, actually. And so it's what people resent when they see it, that it looks like a level of privilege that Sade has to be able to tap out and to heal and to be all up in the beautiful, lush jungles of the Caribbean and like getting her dewy skin. And it looks like a privilege, Vanessa, when you're out like with your sundresses on and sun-kissed and you know that the people around you are suffering. It looks like a privilege every time I post a picture of me in Ghana. And it isn't a privilege, it is a choice. And it is a choice of survival. And particularly for people who are very honed in on the quality of the impact of the work that we do, which I am, I know you are, and Sade is. And I would beg that every woman on the call understands her calling and understands the impact of the work she is called to do. That you have to know that you have to bring your best self, and whatever you have to pour into yourself in order to get your best self, you have to do it. I just implore you. If you need to take off work tomorrow, you have to do it. You have to do it because your work is too important. And you being burned out is not an option. And your light going out is not an option, right? And so I know a little something about that because I was just like, I've had to justify. First of all, it's not easy. I was struggling for my actual life in the last couple of months, and please don't be coming and talking about this to me at the airport, y'all. Like, that's what I mean. Like, we're telling too much of our business. Like, really, I was really struggling, and I really did need to. I felt like I was running for my life when I was driving to the airport, and not in some kind of dramatic, like even Tina Turner way, but in a moment of crisis. I was in a moment of crisis, and I get what Sade is saying, and I'm encouraging everybody that this isn't privilege. Actually, it is actually protection. It is provision that I'm giving to myself, and in order to stand up and be the leader that I know I need to be and want to be. And that sometimes is going to require some justification of people who don't understand, of everybody from, our board, who's been very supportive actually, but from our board to our funders to even our members who make side comments like, you in Ghana, or you on that island in South Carolina. Yeah, I can show up every day with anything to say. And so I have appreciated your sisterhood and your grace as I do take solitude. I really have appreciated it, Vanessa, because sometimes when you go back to radical and responsibility, or being responsible, sometimes when you're being radical, it requires the other people in your life to be responsible. All of these dichotomies that we're talking about, right, sometimes require a kind of equilibrium and balance. And that's why, like, you could hold your fist up if other people are extending their hands. Do you understand what I mean? You could be radical if other people are being responsible. And I could practice solitude because, Vanessa, you were in the streets at the marches in DC and you were showing up at the fundraisers. So I'm deeply grateful for your sisterhood. I'm deeply grateful for it. And I hope that you felt it in return. I really do.
I did, and I feel it all the time. And Audre Lorde talks about this definition of self-care. It is not a selfish concept. It is a mutual care concept. It is, I know I'm going to be down sometimes, so I'm going to need you. You know you're going to be down sometimes, so you're going to need me. And the only way we could be there for, I could be there for you when you need me, and you could be there for me when you need me, is to actually genuinely take care of yourself so that you can be available in those moments. And that is the entire, she has a beautiful essay about it, where she talks about the need for self-care from that perspective, is that this has happened to so many of us so many times. We rob Peter to pay Paul, wear the whole village down, all ain't got nothing, all struggling, and then we're going to look around at each other, and it cannot be like that. So I'm always applauding anybody who is able to figure out what that lifeline is. And I will offer, before we bring women onto the line, if you have something to say and contribute, please join us, star 9, that a 30-minute walk by yourself is the same safety and solitude that you could potentially get going on a vacation or going across the world or doing whatever. You gotta tap out sometimes. And maybe the only privilege you got is that I'm gonna just sit out for these 30 minutes. And somebody on this line right now is like, I haven't even got 30 minutes. And I'm gonna be like, then fine, 15 in the morning and 15 at night. But it is an actual.
No, this is what Janine told me was the most revolutionary thing. But Janine told me, who's one of the most powerful women in the whole world. our other friend Janine. We got two Janines, both of them powerful. But this other Janine was like, the most powerful thing y'all ever said on that line is that I don't got to do 30 minutes in a row because I don't got that time in the day.
Right.
And I was like, what? She said, yeah, so I got to do 15 in the morning and 15 at night. And I promise you, you will be transported because it is an intentionality. And you're right, it is a solitude.
It is. I started.
And you could be trapped no matter where you are. I mean, you could be trapped on vacation, Vanessa. You could not have.
I have been trapped on vacation. I left my marriage of 19 years on a luxury vacation, 5-star resort in Thailand, y'all. That's when the light bulb came on for me. And I was like, oh my God, like this thing isn't for me. You can be trapped by comforts. You could be trapped by your own barriers in your mind. There are so many ways that you can be tapped. I was getting ready to say earlier that I've been doing yoga for the last couple of years. And when I first started doing yoga, I really felt like you have to do like a whole hour and go through all these things and do all this stuff, right? And I had a private teacher and all these type of things. And it was so committed. And then lately, all I really got, I just be like, I've been looking for those 10-minute videos on YouTube or those 12-minute videos on YouTube. There's this girl, Yoga. Shout out to Yoga by Nico. I think it's her name, or Black Yogi Nico. She's my favorite YouTuber, but like her stuff be accessible. And I'd be like, thank God this is 18 minutes, because that's what I got right before this call is these 18 minutes. And I celebrate myself for that because I am a person who can be hard on myself. So I'm always looking for perfection. And I'm always like, but I'm just like, it cannot be that. And sometimes I gave you that prayer app, right? I had this prayer app. It's like 5-minute pause, 2-minute pause, 1-minute pause. Sometimes I just feel like all I got is 2 minutes, and I'm just going to take this 2 minutes and I'm going to give myself these 2 minutes. So we have to do it. We have to do it. We have to do it. I want to let
Vanessa, those are really good. I want to too.
Yeah.
I want to too. And I want us to think about, before we leave the call, like the best pieces of advice you can give for women today as they are learning to grapple and take care of themselves. That was one. Don't be like, self-care doesn't have to be perfect. It can be small, incremental. It just has to feel good. It just has to feel like you are moving in the right direction. Yeah. All right. Let's bring a woman on. I think you're right. Let's hear some voices. Yeah. If you're on the line, please say your name. Please say your name, where you're from, and how you're feeling right now. What's going through your mind, or any reactions to today's conversation, or if you have a response to sisterhood or solidarity, and where on the spectrum what you feel like you need right now. I think it's all interesting questions. You were saying, Bea?
Yeah, thank you for that, Morgan. No, I'm sorry I interrupted you, actually. And I was saying, as we were waiting for a caller to come in, I wanted to also uplift that the care team, Girl Trek, led by our VP of Care, Carla Harris. She told us yesterday that they have put together a resource guide, Girl Trek Election Anxiety Resource Guide, for women who are just really struggling. So even beyond this call, Carla said it's online, so I think at girltrek.org. Carla, text me if that's not where it's at. I should know this. But there is a resource guide that you can tap into, and we're just trying to also give support. So I just wanted to not forget that.
Yeah, you can also always email info@girltrek.org if you need the resource guide, and also info@girltrek.org if you are like Janine and you're like, put me in. Like, I hear all this about self-care, but I'm ready. Girl Trek, put me in. And we have some unique opportunities coming up this fall. We just had our first group train in mental health first aid. Not our first group, we've been doing it for years, but it's door-to-door care. And we're calling that group the Blue Brigade. So you imagine like these beautiful, vibrant Black women walking through neighborhoods, initially across the American South, knocking on doors, asking, are you okay? And being able to provide mental health first aid door to door. Yes. If you want to be involved. Oh my God, yes. Yeah. Shout out to Renata, who's leading that training. She's just a gifted Capricorn who's studied it and gets sued by the rest of the staff. Oh, Carla's a Capricorn too. Shout out. But yeah, but Renata, in all seriousness, is leading that mission. And if you're interested in being a part of the Blue Brigade, info@girltrek.org, and we can get you the information. And you'll hear more about it in upcoming weeks. You don't got to do nothing today. All right, sister, if you're on the line, any sisters on the line, please say your name, where you're calling from, and tell us what you're thinking.
Hi, this is Sylvia. Can you hear me? I'm from Los Angeles.
Yes. Hi, Sylvia from Los Angeles. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is I'm mad as a hornet. I'm hot as fish grease. And I need some time and space to process those legitimate feelings. But after I get through that, I would encourage myself and others to think about James Forten. James Forten was my mother's hero. He was a sailor in the Revolutionary War. He was an abolitionist who fought and established schools, and he's actually the grandfather of someone you've honored on a previous Black History Month, Charlotte Grimke. And he fought the good fight and died in 1840 without knowing how the story would end. Yeah. And that's what, some of us are at the vintage, we may not see how the story ends, but after we process this, there is no option except to get busy.
I love what you said about us, the story, not knowing how the story is going to end, because I thought of that today when I was thinking that, thank God, those who came before us, like, they couldn't have imagined even the gains we have made, because trust me, we really have made gains. And it's like they had to do the work not knowing how the story was actually going to end themselves. And I just so thank you for bringing that up, because none of us are.
I think part of the reason I'm called to say this is we have a legacy. Girl Trek has a legacy. Some of us individually have a legacy. So my mother, who's been dead for 20 years, was a James Forten fangirl. Serendipity, I've met James Forten's descendants and told them how impressive they were. You guys on a Black History Boot Camp call talked about his granddaughter, Charlotte Grimke. And so I had the descendants call in and listen to some of the Black history.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
My mother's favorite Bible verse was, fight the good fight, finish well. And that's all we got right now.
That's right. Thank you for that.
I never even heard that Bible verse. I never even heard that Bible verse. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mom. We hear you. Fight the good fight. And what is it? Finish strong? Yes.
Finish
Amen.
well.
And will do. Finish well, even better, because well is better than strong. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Amen to that. I was trying to mute the wind and I accidentally hung up, but I came back on the good part. That was good, y'all.
Good. It was good. I love, and she said she's hot as fish grease, which is like, Black people, we do have a way with words, y'all. We do have a way with words. She also reminded me, Morgan, of something that Cole from Black Liturgies put on Instagram today. I even saw Brittany share it actually on our Slack channel, but I'm going to read it for everyone. It's Ta-Nehisi Coates. It said, I did not tell you that it would be okay, because I have never believed it would be okay. What I told you is what your grandparents tried to tell me, that this is your country, that this is your world, that this is your body, and you must find some way to live within the all of it. So just what she said reminded me of that.
So good. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Shireen, do we have somebody else on?
Hi, I'm Linda in St. Louis.
Hi, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
I just want to thank you, ladies. You have helped me so much. I'm struggling, as many of us are. I met you back in the spring when we were doing the 10-week walk. And I'm 72 years old and living with uterine cancer. And I just thank you for all that you've done and are doing. I want to share with you, if I may, just a quick message from Venus Williams. And she said that you are awakening in the same country that you fell asleep to, the very same country. Pull yourself together. And when you see me, do not ask me, what do we do now? How do we get through the next 4 years? Some of my ancestors dealt with at least 400 years of this under worse conditions. Continue to do good work, continue to build bridges, not walls, continue to lead with compassion, continue the demanding work of liberation for all, continue to dismantle broken systems, large and small, continue to set the best example for children, continue to be a vessel of nourishing joy, continue right where you are, right where you live into your days, do so in the name of the Creator who expects nothing less from each of us. And if you are not continuing all of the above in community, partnership and collaboration? What is it you've been doing? And what is it you're waiting for? And that was just very helpful to me.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something, and you're not going to believe this. My finger is on that exact text. And actually, when Vanessa was just reading, I was looking for it. And I'm so glad for the pause, because I'm so glad you said it. Because your voice and your conviction, like as a girl.
Well, if I may, I just thank you.
Yes.
God is working, and I'm holding onto my faith with both hands as tightly as I can. If I may, I wanted to share with you a very short prayer from a Lutheran pastor, Nadia Boltz-Weber. She's amazing. And she says, "Dear God, you're going to need to help out today. If the people in my life need comfort and assurance, it can't really come from me, because I need of the same. I can't just blow sunshine up anyone's asses today, Lord. So I ask that you send what they need, please. If it's possible to remind us of the millions of human beings throughout history have lived through worse political situations and have still managed to make art, find joy, share meals, and resist despair. Could you do that for us, please? And then keep guiding us toward their wisdom. In fact, cover us all in the wisdom that is not available in memes and hot takes. And help us remember to drink some water today. In other words, have mercy on us. Amen."
Amen.
Amen. Drink some water today, y'all. Go for a walk
take a
today,
breath,
y'all.
breathe. Yes, thank you,
Breathe
sister.
today.
And I'm a Virgo,
I love that
so I
y'all
don't know
coming
what you all are
prepared.
saying
Hey,
out there.
Virgo. I'm a Virgo too, sister. Look, I just call me that voice. I can feel the Virgo in your voice. So I just did it. And you read it so smooth. You had some conviction in it. And I'm grateful, y'all. We are building this conversation together. I promise you, you are the street. Like, come correct. You came with the prayer. You came with the quote. You came ready to be on the line. I just appreciate. I'm like, yes,
Me
this is
too.
so helpful.
Well, girls, I'm a retired journalist. I'm just so thankful I don't have to work today. I pray for my sisters and brothers who are in the media, who have to tell the stories while they're experiencing their own pain. I'm still sitting here in my pajamas. I haven't even been able to get up today. I've had my drink of water. I've been praying. I've been looking at these messages. But I'm thankful that I don't have to work today.
And for that, we shouting with you.
Yeah.
Yes, we are shouting with you. This is great. I do love this kind of co-creation, Vanessa. I think it's powerful. I like the different voices. It's so powerful. I never heard that Lutheran prayer before. Drink water, drink water, drink water. Flush out those stress hormones, y'all. Get outside. If you're standing on your porch, that's enough. If you walk to the end of your block, that's enough. Walk around the block, that's enough, y'all. Do what you can, but let's get outside and get some fresh air. And let's breathe. Let's breathe. Vic, do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we definitely do. I was so glad she brought up the media, because I was thinking about my Seattle homegirl, Angela Rye, last night, and she was live at the Howard campus, and she was doing her podcast live there. And she kept having so much faith, right? And she was doing the right thing. She was like, y'all, I know this return is coming in. I know this. She was holding until I didn't hear from her no more. And then I woke up this morning just like, oh my God. And then she hadn't posted anything else. And I was just like, these are real people. Like I was thinking about her. I was thinking about Brittany. I was thinking about, like, we know so many people right now who are like figures, but they're not figures. They're just everyday women, just like the women we talk about on Black History Boot Camp, just like Sade, just like all of us, who just decided to every single day try to give something, try to tap into their gift, try to help us make sense, try to get us educated, try to get us mobilized. And I know that she in particular must be really feeling it right now. So I was thinking about her specifically this morning.
Yeah, I was thinking about Stacey Abrams when I woke up this morning. I was like, this woman has given so much for America. She really has given so much of herself and her leadership and her genius ever since she was a student. At the anniversary of the March on Washington, she was a student from Spelman who spoke to all those people. And she was so cute and her voice was so trembling. I'm like, she'd been in the game. And last week, was it the week before last, we had the opportunity to speak with her about the Girl Track mission and get her advice and seek her advice on a big stage at the TED conference. And I asked her what she does when she's afraid. I was like, you are running for governor in Georgia. You would have been the first Black woman to be governor. Like, you had to have been. We just talked yesterday about the lynching in the gubernatorial race in Georgia of those two couples. So I was like, Stacey, you had to be afraid. And she said, I don't think of things in those terms of fear. She said, and then I asked her, and she started talking about like how she thinks about risk and how she thinks about impact and how she thinks about her mother and her foremothers. And it doesn't feel like a choice. And so she just does it because it is the right thing to do, not because she's afraid or unafraid. And then I asked her, she came in and she sat next to me and she whispered, she was like, this is my 8th meeting today. Now this was a week and a half before the election, and she's in Georgia, battleground state, and she's already flipped that battleground state once before. So the Democrats are really looking to her to help. And she said, this is my 8th talk today. And she whispers that to me, and I said, bless, you know what I mean? And I was just like grateful, but also overwhelmed with and for her. And then Pat Mitchell came over and said, and I told Pat Mitchell, I was like, this is her eighth talk today. And Pat said, Pat is an 81-year-old beautiful woman. She's white. She calls herself a dangerous woman. She's a media mogul, and she said Jane Fonda once told me that activism keeps you ageless. And I looked at both Stacey and Pat, and I said, I don't believe none of that. I was like, I don't believe in this. And then we went on the stage, and I was joking with Stacey. I was like, I don't believe in no 8th meeting of the day. I don't believe in no activism makes you ageless. I was like, I don't believe in it. And like, how do you manage? How are you taking care of yourself when it's hard? And do you remember what she said, Dee? She said, you have to prioritize. She said, you have to look at whether things are urgent and important. And she said, some things are urgent, but they're not important. Some things are important, but they're not urgent. And she said, some things are neither urgent nor important, right? And she said, I do a lot of things that are not urgent and not important, and they feel good. Like she wrote like 8 romance novels, Stacey Abrams. Did you guys know that? And then she goes, sometimes I do things that are urgent, but not important. And I try not to do those things at all. I try to just say, this is urgent, but it ain't important. I'm not going to do this. And then some things are important, but not urgent. So she takes her time on. She goes, but she really focuses her time on the things that are urgent and important. And I believe in that woman. And I think she's an American hero. So I was listening. And I was telling her that Ella Baker, who said, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. I hated that song by Sweet Honey in the Rock. And I hated that quote by Ella Baker. And I just sent Vanessa a rare photo of Ella Baker, and her hair was all tousled. And I said, look, Vanessa, she had on her pajamas. And I said, look, Vanessa, she's rested. Vanessa's like, no, she's traumatized in that picture. She's not resting. She's not resting. So I'm here to just tell you all of that to say, I do believe in what Stacey Abrams is saying. We're going to have to, over the next couple months, figure out what is important and what is urgent. And we're going to have to do that collectively in sisterhood. And I am saying now that in your solitude, it is okay to rest. Job well done. You are a soldier in the army, whether you were a journalist like that last sister who was just on the call, or you are a mother at home right now, whatever it is, you have done your job and you deserve to rest and restore and heal your body and exhale all of the anxiety and pain. You deserve that. Job well done, Black women. Job well done.
Yeah. Let's take one last woman before we head out for the day.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Victoria. I'm
What's your name?
Victoria.
I missed it. Oh, Victoria. Okay.
Victoria in Loganville, Georgia.
Hey, Victoria.
I want to say that this has been so emotional for me, just as I'm sure as everyone else. Yesterday evening, I felt the anger and the anxiety rising, and I immediately tried to slam that down and cover it with prayer and this, that, and the other. And then this morning, I came across TikTok, Kurt Franklin talking about what was happening down in Florida with the hurricanes and how, like, we always try to put scripture, sometimes just mourn and with the people and mourn and allow yourself to mourn. And it reminded me that even when Lazarus died, Jesus knew that he was going to heal him and to wake him and to restore him, but he still cried, he still mourned. And that gave me permission to say, okay, mourn, but don't lose track of what you've been doing. I have been a part of Girl Trek since COVID. I joined during COVID. And I literally tell you, I maybe took 2 walks before this summer, maybe 2.
Oh my God.
And
come on with this testimony.
God had been moving me to do better, like to invest in myself, to give self-care, to be the best, because I wasn't happy with where I was. And I had gotten to a point before COVID, of feeling like, what if I wasn't here? And those thoughts scared the hell out of me. And I'm sorry for my language, but it scared me. And I said, I need counseling. I need to talk to someone. I need to figure out how to move this out of me. And so I'll say all of that to say is that he put me in a place where he gave it this morning that it was okay to mourn, but don't lose the ground that we've gained. Like, mourn, take your time, and then get up and say, okay, I'm going to set these mourning clothes aside, and I'm going to continue to build me. I'm going to continue to work on me. I'm going to continue to be the best that I can be. I'm going to continue to put myself in a position that whatever comes, I know whose I am and that he's got me 24/7. We all made it through the first one. Some of us were banged and bruises. Some of us better off, but we made it through. And I have to believe that God will see us through all of this time around as well. And we may have scars at the end of it, but we will make it through. And knowing that, I thank Girl Trek for being here for me, for encouraging me, for pushing me, for helping me get out of my comfort zone and expect more from me. So, ladies, in all that you're doing, all the strides you've made, continue. Mourn, but continue. When you get through mourning, continue. Don't let this deter you from what God has been preparing you for, because he's been working on us, so he's been preparing us. So,
ooh, I love us.
I think they put myself.
I love that word. Like, yes.
He's been preparing us. He's been working on us.
Yes, he has been preparing us. He has been working on us. And I love us. I love sisterhood. And take what you need. You don't have to even show up for us right now. Like Vanessa said earlier, like, you can take the time you even need for yourself. So this has been an incredible call. Vanessa, thank you so much, sister. Mourn, but don't lose ground.
I heard her say mourn, but don't lose ground. And I heard her say that she's been with Girl Trek for almost 4 years, but didn't take her first walk to the beginning of this summer, or had only taken 2 walks before this summer. And I promise you that we as a team on a daily basis are asking ourselves, how do we move those women who said yes during the pandemic from saying yes to actually moving towards the direction of the healing that this sister just shared with us, and taking those walks for themselves. And we're not giving up on those women. We're not leaving any sisters behind. We are doing this work for them. It is not just enough that those of us who are consistently out with our superhero blue shirts on and taking our selfies and with our crews, that we're out there. It's not enough. We need every single woman out there, because we're not just going to get through, y'all. As we're not just getting through, the joy, the resilience, the beauty, the brilliance, this is almost a training ground for those things. I'm thinking that baby hair came sometime around the 1950s when they was tripping with us. Then we was like, we're going to layer baby hairs like this. Then we was like, we're going to put a grill in. Then we was like, we're going to get some more. Then we was like, I'm just saying, like, what? I don't know what's about to come from this moment, but stop the fire. It's about to be
You need a joy timeline, a joy Black history timeline.
Yes, we do. Because they be trying, it be like foot on our neck, and then we be like, we're going to do this karate chop on you, and then we're going to bounce back, and then we're going to twerk it down low, and then you're going to think you got it, and then we're going to move over here like the Thriller, and then we're going to moonwalk ourselves into healing. Like, one way or the other, I just believe that these things are building in us, not just like hate and rage, not just like we're going to get through it, but like we are going to get onto the other side into a place that is so much better than we could have imagined. It's like that story she said of Lazarus, like he thought he was dead and God was like, no, you're not even dead, like you are alive.
They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds.
No.
Is one of my favorite quotes ever. It's one of my favorite quotes ever. And I got a tattoo of a lotus on my ankle for that reason. Like out of the muck comes the brightest flower. Comes the brightest flower. So it's why Black women are uniquely prepared, and we know how to be resilient even in times of great suffering. I sent a song to Tyrene before we got on this call because I was listening to Ella Fitzgerald when I was walking before the call, and I was like, how is her voice so velvety like this in the middle of Jim Crow? Just like, how is she so joyful and happy and beautiful? So talking about baby hair in the 50s, I was just like, this woman, had such elegance and beauty. So let's take all of those lessons from our foremothers. Let's rest. That is radical. And then let's not lose ground. Be well, sisters. Be well.
Be well. We'll be back here tomorrow, y'all. 12 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, the whole month of November. We're walking out the rest of the season. We're asking ourselves essential questions. The questions don't have a right or wrong answer. They just have, they're just information for us to understand the choices we can make right now.